Welcome to the Lifescript Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Sonu. The Lifescript Podcast is on a mission to uncover what health truly means and give insight into my unique, evidence-based health philosophy I call your Lifescript. The Lifescript Podcast aims to empower you with thought-provoking discussions with leading medical professionals and wellness experts and how it ties into your Lifescript. Together, we discuss the rapid rise of chronic diseases and mental health conditions and how our lifestyle, our emotional health, and the core medicine all intertwines to give you the best health for life. Please be aware that this podcast is not intended to diagnose, treat, or provide individualized medical advice for any health conditions. If you're seeking tailored support, you can explore more on my website, drsonu.com.au. That's drsonu.com.au. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Lifescript Podcast. This afternoon I have a very special guest, Matt Hansford. He's an exercise physiologist. He's been a colleague I worked with for years. He's a musician. I'm still waiting to hear his gig, but yeah, a man of many talents, a lecturer at Griffith University, inspiring the young minds into his field of exercise physiology, which I sometimes find my patients don't even understand. What does Matt do? And I said, just go see him. So let me ask Matt, what do you do?
So thank you for having me, first of all. It's great to be here. So exercise physiology is a relatively new field, 5 to 10 years, and it basically is born out of the idea that we can use exercise as medicine, right? So we always had physiotherapy and physical therapy for the musculoskeletal system, pain, injuries, rehabilitation from surgery, things like that. That's always been around, but this idea that exercise can be used as a preventative medicine, as a proactive medicine, it's coming to the foray. We are living in a time where, with pharmaceutical intervention and, all the modern medicine and Western medicine we have, people are living longer. People are living 80 plus, but are they living well is the better question, right? And that's where exercise comes in. So the role of an exercise physiologist is to, we prescribe exercise the same way a doctor might prescribe medicine. It's, we understand your disease, your pains and injuries, your history, and we prescribe exercise that suits you. So it might be to manage and treat the current conditions you have, or it might be to basically avoid those risk factors and make sure that we stay away from those chronic diseases. We do the rehabilitation and pain side of things as well, but yeah, a big part of exercise physiology, I suppose, is creating exercise for everyone to use as medicine, as a form of proactive healthcare that helps to prolong and increase quality of life. Yeah.
Excellent. That's just music to my ears. And your prescription does not have any side effects, do they?
Yeah, well, unless there's too much of a good thing, but yeah, as long as that's where we come in, I suppose, is to make sure it's safe and effective for that person. For exercise physiology, there's considerations, if someone has heart disease and things like that, we need to know where to stop. But there is no patient that can't use some form of exercise, or no person, I shouldn't even say patient, no person in this world that couldn't use some form of exercise to help improve their quality of life, realistically.
Perfect. No, what I'm hearing is just fundamental to my philosophy, and that's why we work so well together, is that it's not just about how long you live, it's how well you live.
Absolutely.
And I have this quite a harsh statement. I said, you don't want to be doubly incontinent in a nappy in a nursing home eating mushy peas on potatoes, watching politicians bicker on TV about the aged care commission. You want to be wiping your own bottom, going to your own toilet, cooking your own food,
Absolutely.
And walking around till your last day. And I think when I put it like that, they get it. They understand that to live a good life, they've got to focus on exercise and nutrition and all the things we talk about. So I couldn't agree with you more. We're living longer, but I think our quality of life is questionable.
The sort of stats and the research that's coming out right now is that the things, that are causes of death now, dementia, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, they're the most common. They're becoming, dementia is one of the leading causes of death in Australia right now for women, and I think maybe third for men. However, it's been shown and proven through research, exercise and diet can, play a huge part in preventing these conditions. They're conditions born out from old age, but also mistreatment of the body, really. So you're so right in saying that, you can live to 80 and 90 years old, but if you lose your mind, if you lose your capacity, it's, you're potentially looking at what is, not a great quality of life. Whereas, the way I look at things and my philosophy, which is so similar to yours, is do these daily little things that you can do when it comes to the nutrition, the movement, these little things across the course of your lifetime, and you're setting yourself up for success later in life with the capacity to have a higher quality of life. And I like to use this analogy with all of our patients, which is treat exercise the same way you would treat taking a pill for diabetes or taking that asthma puffer every morning. It's prescription. It's kind of like, I have to do this, otherwise I'm going to get asthma, or otherwise I might develop...
the Lifescript.
Right, it's like otherwise I might develop one of these conditions later in life. Do you know what I mean?
And I totally agree with you, and I love your company's called Empowered Physiology.
Yes.
So it's all about empowering them, getting into their brain, that first bit of the emotional health, what will motivate them, what is their attitude towards exercise, what will, tickle their heart and their motivation, and, what is doable, what is safe, like you said, because when they're with you, you can assess their injury profile, you can assess their cardiovascular health, so you can give them a program that is safe so they feel like they can do it. Giving them small, achievable goals.
Absolutely.
So, how do you think you motivate people? What is the magic about Matt? What do you do with a client? Tell me.
So this is my sort of, it's what I have become super passionate about, is you understand very rapidly, and, we all know this, exercise isn't for everyone. There's people who are inherently love exercise. There's just people who absolutely adore it. They love the gym, they love the community, they love these other things. And then there's people, especially in the older demographic now, where perhaps they weren't raised on this idea that exercise is medicine and thing. It was more about aesthetic and all these other sort of things. You've got to sort of get them on board with this kind of thing. Now, when it comes to motivation and adherence, it's about tapping into their lifestyle, their emotion, and how it can become relevant to them. With a few of the clients that we see at your clinic, there are some people there who've not exercised in 10, 15 years kind of thing. You haven't moved the muscle, they come down.
That's how they're seeing you.
You're all right. And they come down and they're like, oh, exercise, no, I don't know about that kind of thing. But then you sit and have a discussion with them and make it a little bit less clinical, and maybe talk about what is it that you want, out of your life? What is it that you want to be able to do every day? And they're like, oh, I like doing this and that. And you can tease some things out, and you go, listen, wouldn't it be amazing if that quality of doing those things was increased? If you felt better doing those things, if all of these things, and, we help them garner an understanding about the emotional reason that exercise can be helpful to them. But then we build it into their lifestyle with proven scientific and strategic strategies. I've spoken to you about this dopamine understanding, and how to not necessarily hack the system, but work with your own neurochemistry to increase motivation over time. So
educating about how our body functions and our brain functions.
When it comes to exercise, you get people straight away who are like, right, I'm going to dive into 7 times a week, 1 hour a day exercise, I'm getting fit. And then of course they fall off after a few weeks because it's not sustainable, because it's not structured, it's not inherent. We look at, it's a bit of an old acronym, but the SMART goal, it's looking at things that are measurable and attainable and relevant to them. And so I'm there. I suppose part of what I do is like life coaching as well,
Yes.
in a way.
I guess we're all life coaches as clinicians, aren't we?
Because, otherwise they could just go on the internet and download an exercise program and away they go, which I think the reason I'm there is to help people not only, get the right exercise prescription for what they need, but also to inherently build it into their life and into their daily, I like this idea of this sort of 1% every day over time equals this big amount. And these people, it's this get rid of this all or nothing attitude and just go little bit by little bit. If you miss it today, let's go tomorrow, and help them create exercise as part of their psyche. I love that quote from Atomic Habits, and it's like, instead of I want to run 5 days a week, it's I want to be a runner. Like, it's who you are. Yes. I am an exerciser.
You introduced me to that book.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Thank you. Yeah, I've read it, James Clear, Atomic Habit, and I often quote that and often say to my patients, women sometimes, who want to lose 30 kilos, I said, right, you can be 30 kilos lighter sitting in that chair a year from now.
Absolutely.
And we can guarantee you that. Yeah? And they suddenly look, really?
Like what?
I said, yeah.
Yeah.
But for the next 365 days, you've got to chip at it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be crash diet for three weeks, and and the power of what you can achieve in a year versus what you can achieve in 2 weeks and 2 months.
Exactly.
It's just because then it becomes, like you said, it's how you live, it's how you practice, and it's achievable. Then you can say, yeah, I can do that, you can do that too. So I say, imagine yourself in that chair in my consulting room on the 29th of May 2024 and dream away.
Yeah.
And it's a very positive imagery. And I said,
Absolutely.
and like you said, 1% over a year is 36%. So, they want
Absolutely.
30 kilos off. It's usually less than 36% of their body weight.
Well, that's it. I'd say to some of my students, it's kind of the same sort of idea of what you're saying, is the idea of a North Star. We can have these grand goals and things where, I want to be this 30 kilos lighter, I want to all these things. It's kind of like, if you say to that client, this imagery, put yourself in that chair, always be moving towards that as best you can. And if you deviate from that path, don't forget to just look back towards the star. I think too often, this is what we talk about, is setting yourself up with systems for success, not just going, I want to be 30 kilograms lighter, and then just, every so often you exercise and you crash diet, and then you do all these things and you go up and you down and you fluctuate. And what that sort of causes is, negative internal self-talk and stuff, because it's I failed again. Instead, you come to someone, if you don't have these tools for success, come and see someone like us, and we talk to you about, there's your North Star, this is where you want to be eventually. Here are the little daily things that you can do to walk towards that North Star. And if you fall away and start looking in another direction for a little bit, know that it's okay. Know that we can talk okay to ourselves, be kind to ourselves, and then get back on that right path. Because I think that's probably the biggest pitfall for anyone who's trying to get on some sort of exercise journey, is internal self-negativity. It's like, I did 3 days and then I stopped and I suck. You know what I mean? It's like, and what that drives is the opposite of motivation. It drives you to not want to do the thing because you think you're going to fail. So it's like, that's what we're here to help with,
And that is so true, Matt. I couldn't resonate with that thought more, because probably that was me a year ago. It's always like, yeah, I'm going to lose weight, but I'm going to put it back on. Yeah, I'm going to go to the gym, but I'm not going to continue. It's like a self-sabotage. And one of my favorite things now I say is, I've got out of my own way.
Nice. I like it.
And I'm first in my queue. And yeah, every day I wake up, I think, okay, I've got to move my body, I've got to put good nutrition in it, and I've got to live my purpose. And that's it. And then the day ends, I go to sleep.
Yeah.
And then if I was to get up again tomorrow, 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And it means you've inherently built those systems into your life. You look at it in a very spiritual way, which is amazing. And I can hear the way you talk is very kind to yourself in that way. And then I'm looking at it over here in like an analytical way, which is that you've created systems for yourself for success, which is I must move. Well, it's not even I must move. I'm a mover, you know, like I am someone who nourishes my body. I am someone who speaks nicely to myself. And for those three things, even if I fail the movement thing this day because had a bit of a cold or, you know, work got very busy, that's okay. I'm someone who moves. I'll do it again tomorrow. And that's it, you know, if we can, and that's a journey that you've been on, and doesn't happen overnight. Yeah. It's about changing belief systems first. You can't, and this is the problem with the crash dieting. There's probably not even a word for this yet, but there's crash exercise programs as well, because, you know,
I totally agree.
8-week fitness, like, let's do that. And like, that's not
I want one though.
No, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing.
That's my third 8-week fitness.
Well, that's okay. There's not a problem with these 8-week things. Sometimes they can kick on for people, but you've got to make sure that with the 8-week, you know, body transformation or whatever it is, comes a change in belief about exercise as well. Because if it doesn't, if it's just 8 weeks of hard fitness, got my body in shape, they'll tend to slip back, which is what happens with the dieting. So.
Yeah. And that is key, I think, the sustainability.
Yes.
It's change for life. It's knowing the right narrative. You nurture yourself to somewhere rather than beat yourself up. And I love that. I'm going to bring you back to what you said, which I think is very relevant, the all and none phenomenon. You know, so I had a biscuit, now I've crashed my diet now. So I'm going to have a cake for dessert as well, and then I'm going to eat a packet of chips at night. And, you know, so they just crash. They just like, rather than saying, well, I've had a biscuit, I'll go back and have a healthy dinner tonight. You know? So things like that, or they miss their exercise and think, I'm a failure again, comes to the narrative. So give me a few things that we can think or talk about to counteract that.
Something, you know, there's all sorts of different tools and techniques. Something that I do with a few of our clients over at Han is that I try to encourage people to journal, to like reflect, right? It's, some people will turn their nose up at it straight away, but I think it's an extremely powerful tool. It was always said to me, you know, journaling allows you to put the thoughts on a piece of paper, and once they're out of your mind, they're a lot less scary when you're not mixing them up with your own judgment of them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So let's say
it's out there. You parked it.
Yeah. So it's there. So it's kind of like, I failed to go to gym today or something like that, and then you go, why did that happen? Well, I wasn't feeling great about, you know, this and that. I got a bit tired from work, or whatever it is. You know, get them to write that down and then reflect. What might I be able to do in the future to change that? Even that simple exercise, as perhaps corny as it might sound, it takes the weight off you of this self-reflection of negativity. It allows you to say, it's okay that I did that kind of thing. You know, I missed this session. This is why it happened. This is what I'm going to try to do tomorrow instead, you know. You flip that from what was internally, man, I missed a session today, I'm never going to be able to do this, I'm not going to go tomorrow, I'm going to go to McDonald's and get myself a big burger or something. Do you know what I mean? And that happens quite quickly, quite rapidly, this like negative thought part. I've suffered myself with a bit of absolutism in terms of my own health journey, where I can be quite self-negative towards myself, and I've had so much more success with this idea of balance recently than all or nothing approaches. Yes. So I was very much have to exercise 6 to 7 times a week. Yes. Must eat perfectly. Must, you know, 8 hours perfect sleep, wake up and see the sun. All these things that I'd learned through science, I had to be all of them, and realised I was quite unhappy. I was drained of energy and I was stressed. I flipped that script myself. There you go. I flipped that myself.
I'm getting into your brain.
It's in there. I flipped that myself and started to set up. What I did for myself, and I've done this with a couple of clients, is there are 10 things across the course of my day, which is similar to what you were just mentioning about I must move, I must nourish, I must do this. I've got 10 things across the course of my day that I try and tick off at least 5 of them a day.
Yeah.
It's much more balanced, right? So it's not this all or nothing approach. So it might be stay off my phone for 3 hours in a row. It might be get 8 hours sleep. It might be drink 3 litres of water. It might be move, you know, do a stretch, whatever it is. Come up with your rules for life, let's say, or your your structures that will create a positive day for you, do something nice for you. And you don't have to smash it out of the park. I just get 50% every day. Bang, 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 bang. Sometimes I get 100%. Sometimes I drop below 40. But I know that I'm always 1% each day working towards that North Star, which is
I love that North Star. I'm going to use it.
It's great. It's great. And that North Star for me is living longer with more capacity to do the things that I want to do, which is through health. Yeah.
See, I have this 100 goal, and
you mentioned that to me. That's right.
Live till 100.
Yeah.
Work till I'm 100 because I love my work.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I don't have to work for money, but yeah. And to create $100 million of legacy in health and well-being.
Yeah,
I have this vision to educate a whole village. I'm sponsoring a tribal girls' school in India.
Nice.
My friend Bina is going there to buy all the kits, and it just motivates me. That's my KPI.
Absolutely.
If my business can do well enough to fund that, then I'm a success.
Yeah.
And just that 100 goal, it just makes me so, I don't know, it makes me feel good, because if I can live till 100, obviously I'm doing something right, and if I can work till 100, I will have my mind capacity, because I wouldn't work if I'm demented, and I would have the power to change the world and make an impact. So I've put it out in the universe. And every day, like you said, I just think, okay, what am I doing
to walk towards that stuff?
So if and I also, I think we'll talk about this a bit more. It's about that acceptance of imperfection, vulnerability, accepting things that go out of plan, out of your control. I was listening to a podcast of Sam Harris on a drive to Byron with a friend recently, and he was talking about the difference between intelligence, creativity, and wisdom.
Okay.
And he said intelligence is knowing what's right and wrong. Yeah. Creativity is imagining it to your potential, creating beyond imagining, the potential of something. And wisdom is to sit with contradictions, to know what you can and what you can't control.
Absolutely.
And be okay with it.
Yeah.
And I think that with the concept of equanimity, so not going here when you've had a great day, and not going here when you've had a bad day, and kind of take it in your stride. I think you did that gesture too.
Yeah.
Is I think very fundamental principles.
Big time.
And both of us, I think, having had our own journeys of being there, and I think a lot of clinicians will type A, we're perfectionists, we want.
Big time.
But I think talking to our patients about being okay with not being 100% and small goals. What do you see as the missed message in our community with our patients? What's going wrong with this whole industry of exercise?
Have you read this new book, Outlive?
I've heard about it. I haven't got it yet, but yes, it's on my list.
You must have. Everything you talk about, he's got a very similar ideology, but he, I can't remember his name fully, Dr. Peter something, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, but he talks about...
a friend sent it to me, I think, about
you're going to love it. You're going to absolutely love it. But he talks about Medicine 2.0, which was this amazing thing that, was built from understanding the germ theory and understanding... essentially, it is coming up with all these amazing medicines, but Western medicine is very reactive.
Yes.
Like so reactive. And there are still so many doctors who are only going to probably ever see it that way until they retire, which is okay. Like, I'm a lot younger and brought up in a different, I suppose, ideology.
I don't think it's age related, but I see your point.
I struggle with it sometimes.
See the light or not.
He talks about Medicine 3.0, which is where he wants us to head, which is where you want us to head as well, which is proactive medicine. And it's the understanding that, we talk about it all the time, it's exercise, it's the food you put in your body, it's the sleep that you get, it's the water that you get. Now, we say what is wrong with the system is your question. It's everything is geared towards reactivity. Everything is always geared to let's wait until the diagnosis. Let's wait until the thing happens to then treat the thing. I'm trying to think of like a good analogy, but it's sort of, you're allowing the thing to fester. You're allowing the thing to get to the point over time. And then you're looking at the healthcare bills through the roof. You're looking at a healthcare system across, let's just say Australia for now. It is across the world, but across Australia that is clogged up, full of clients who are in absolutely avoidable situations,
yes.
right? Now,
totally.
I understand that the healthcare system employs so many people, but imagine a world where your medicine that you take every day is nourishing food, is correct exercise, is the right amount of sleep. The amount of chronic disease that is abolished, completely abolished across 90%. The board. It's more. It's diabetes, it's cardiovascular disease, it's stroke, it's dementia, it's like
mental health.
It's across the board. Now these things aren't all like it's not a 100% thing, but I think that that is the problem. And when your healthcare providers are the ones delivering the message, then the people, think of it as a funnel, I suppose. The people at the bottom, the consumers, the clients, the patients, are the ones who are going to receive that message. And, I in my old job used to do a lot of GP visits and, just have a chat about what I do and like what we did as a facility. And this idea of like, exercise physiology, like, is this for injuries? And I'm like, no, well, it's proactive healthcare. We want to see your patients come to us so that we can help them avoid the blah blah blah. And they're kind of like, I think the idea is a client comes into a doctor office and then is going, this is the problem I have, can you fix it? Instead of, let's say a client comes into a doctor and goes, hey doctor, like, I'd love to hear about how I can avoid all of these things. When that has never happened, probably ever, from a patient going in and going, how can I avoid all these things?
Right. That's my job. So if a patient comes to me, they're diabetic, and they want their scripts for diabetes. Now I tell them, you're diabetic. So unless we fundamentally change your trajectory, you're high risk for getting a stroke, getting dementia, and then dying of your disease. All these pills are just managing your diabetes. They're not doing anything to change that trajectory fundamentally. So now I say with my, the Lifescript program or my approach, I call it my 2.0, version, the Netflix series, Dr Sonu, is about that. It's about fundamentally changing the long-term trajectory of my patient's health, even those who've had some chronic diseases, either to cure them. I know that's a big promise and a big word, and I don't take that lightly, but that's possible if we get it early enough and there are lots of modifiable risk factors, or change the potential havoc they will play in your life because of lifestyle, changes, etc. So, and that is powerful.
Absolutely.
I feel powerful in that, just that passion to do that, and patients, like you said, they're not used to that. They usually come, they want a script, and they accept that they're asthmatics, they're gonna get puffers, and every winter they're gonna get sick 4 times. But then you tell them, look, if you exercise, if you eat better, your gut is better, your asthma will not get worse. And they're like, really? Is it possible?
Absolutely.
So I think you're right, and I see that in my clinic, that people are surprised. Some of them seek that because I've been now waving this flag for a bit. I'm known for that now. So people come to seek that kind of proactive care. But I agree with you. What is wrong with our system is we're reactive, and we're also very piecemeal. They go to this doctor for this specialist for this and this specialist for that, and the gut specialist will put them on a anti-acid drug which will make their bones thinner, and whatever else. Like, everybody will put them on different medication and
then it's just a cocktail of who knows what, and then
and you know, it's the job of general practice to kind of be the gatekeeper, to coordinate their care, but that again is not happening as well as it could for various reasons. But we could talk about the politics of medicine.
Well, I was just gonna, this is a very reductive way to look at it, but think less doctor's visits equals more time for a client to be with their doctor. I would assume the reason there are so many clogged up practices is because of reactive healthcare. So I know this is a hard thing it's not going to happen overnight. There are more and more people looking at medicine this way, which is fantastic. So let's say 50 years from now or something, I don't know, it's just the way it's like, you'd love for the government and, you know, to the promotion of strategies, heaps of promotion and incentives to look after yourself. The insurance companies are already ahead of it. You know, there is...
It's the best dollar investment in health.
That's it. People, my own health insurance, if I put my blood pressure in every week, they literally bring my premium down. And the idea is look after your health. And obviously this is about money, but like I'm looking at it on this idea of you're saying, oh, you know, it's tough for the GPs right now. You know, you've got to look at some practice assistants back to back, and they're just getting swamped with appointments. It's hard in that, you know, whatever it is, 15 to half an hour gap to really empower people to look after themselves in that way, because they're going, hey, my back's sore, or hey, I've got this and this and this, please fix it right now. And so, I don't know, maybe this is idealistic, but you'd like to think that there could be a world where there is more time to help empower that patient and work with them if they need to visit the doctor less.
Yes, and I'm sold. I'm on the other camp already. So I said, no, it's not a one problem, one consult with me. I want to know all your problems. I want to connect the dots. I want to spend time with you. I rather spend time with you to motivate you to have results. But yeah, I think we need to go that way. I think we are opening the door to that path. I think I was asked about this by Bern Young on ABC Radio. Do you think, Dr. Sonu, your model of changing the world, creating a blue zone in Gold Coast where everybody exercises and eats well, or at least has that proactive approach, will they embrace it? Will you have doubters? And I very proudly declared, no, Gold Coast will be the first blue zone town in the world. So
love
there
it.
you go.
Love that.
So, yeah, on that positive note, Matt, let me take this opportunity to thank you for everything you do for my patients, for who you are, for the love you bring to the world with everything you do, and your music and your, you know, just who you are. And I look forward to reading the book Outlive, and I look forward to more chats.
It's very good. Yeah.
And thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure, and we shall talk again
Absolutely.
In another episode, another time. I'm sure we'll have you in this chair again. So thank you, Matt.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
This is the Lifescript Podcast, your host, Dr. Sonu. Thank you for tuning in to the Lifescript Podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. The show notes and any resources mentioned can be found in the accompanying blog post on my website. Please remember that the information provided in this podcast is not intended to diagnose or provide medical advice for any health conditions. If you're looking for individualized support, please head over to my website, drsonu.com.au. That's drsonu.com.au to learn more about how Kiran Wellness and its programs can help you on your health and healing journey.